Dobry Privet from Tiraspol, which is the capital of Transnistria, or Transnistria as it's known outside of Romania or outside of Moldova and most of the Western world. Here I am on top of, I don't know, some sort of bell tower, and needless to say, it's living up to expectations. It has this grey feel to it, and it's almost, the weather's almost acknowledging the kind of Soviet time capsule that it is. So Transnistria, what about it? What is it? Tiraspol. Tiraspol is the capital. Transnistria is a breakaway region of Moldova, and it's got its de facto government that rules it, and it's somewhat backed by the Russians, not completely. It's not recognised by the Russian government as a country in its own right. However, it has all of the hallmarks of a country of its own right. It has a border police. It has a non-official currency, paper coins. I actually came through the border this morning. I didn't get a stamp on my passport, but they give you an immigration slip. But we're going to explore the town here. We've about 4 or 5 hours of daylight left to explore. It should be enough. It's not a massive city, but it is eerie, it is bleak. We're going to have a look, see if there's some fun things to do here. But look at this. Here we are in one of the frontiers of Europe. East versus West divide. And in front of me is a Russian Orthodox church. Let's go and explore this Soviet time capsule. You can see the Soviet apartment blocks up here behind this furniture shop, and they kind of line the boulevards here. But yeah, look at this Soviet splendour, and it really is a time capsule. So you'll see on the Transnistria or the Transnistrian flag, the hammer and sickle is still displayed proudly, and their flag is red, green, red, plus the hammer and sickle for communism, for the Soviet Union. You see there the Kvint cognac, which was supplies to a lot of the Soviet Union, throughout the Soviet Union during Soviet times. It was one of the major drinks that the party liked and promoted throughout the Union. But yeah, look at it. You can see them, they're quite dilapidated over there. The blue building, it's got the paint peeling off, but they're the exact type of apartment blocks that you see throughout the Soviet Union. When I was in Georgia, these type of, I'm not sure if they'd be termed as Khrushchevkas, but they all come from or are noted next to kind of different eras of Soviet leaders. So if it was an apartment block that was a Stalinist type of architecture, they'd be called the Stalinskas, and same for Khrushchevkas, called after Khrushchev, Brezhnevkas. So they're just named after the Soviet leaders. But yeah, hopefully we'll see some cool sights here, and maybe interact with one or two of the locals. I can't imagine there's too much English going to be spoke here, but maybe we'll get by with a bit of Privet, Dobry Den, and Spasiba. Some guy beeped his horn at me. Look here, it's a school. It's still got that Soviet look about it. It's got let's see if we can, I don't want to be peeking through fucking fences and stuff now, but I don't know what it is. The colour scheme, it's the colour schemes. You see the bright colours, but obviously nowadays they're all faded. But during the Soviet Union, these probably would have been upkept. The upkeep would have been quite good. But yeah, now it's got that characteristic feel, you know, when old movies that are set here. It's got that more kind of a dilapidated characteristic. Look at this kind of, I don't know, is it a Soviet bus shelter? But yeah, look inside, you can see obviously the Soviets place a massive emphasis on sports, and you can see the schools have quite good facilities outside them: volleyball, beach volleyball, basketball, soccer. I think there are basketball courts over there that the kids are playing at, but yeah, the emphasis has always been on the betterment of their people through sport. And if anyone's seen Icarus, the betterment of their people through a bit of through juicing in sport as well. But yeah, look at this, it's just cool. It's so different from what I'm used to. Look at this. I don't know what it is. I think I found the perfect time just to come here, because it's exactly what I would have expected it to look like at this time of year, so it's quite cool. But yeah, I'm gonna go down here. There's a gentleman waiting to see me. Yeah, he might not move very much, but let's go down and have a look at him anyway and see what his deal is. Look at him, he's very regal, isn't he? Kotovsky, 1881 to 1925. He's only 44 years old, and he died. You can see there's dogs fighting in the background. But yeah, look at this park. So it's in an X shape, or is it more than an X shape? So there's a general outline of an X shape with two lines going through it as well. So yeah, but this guy, he's obviously has significance here in Transnistria, or maybe Greater Moldova, but I suspect given the dates it's probably more to do with the Soviet Union. But yeah, he's got a monument to himself there, which is cool to see. The trees are stripped bare of all their fruits and their leaves, and the people in the park are raking them up, putting them in piles over here. And there is a small little fun fair over here. Very, very cool. Okay, I don't really know. Let's see if my internet works. We can look up what Kotovsky did. So, Grigory Ivanovich Kotovsky. He was a Soviet military officer and political activist who was a significant participant in the Russian Civil War. And it says here he progressed from being a gangster and bank robber in Bessarabia, which is Moldova, to becoming a commander in the Red Army and a member of the Central Executive Committee of the Soviet Union. That's kind of funny, because we all know that there was a lot of people who kind of went up through the ranks of the Soviet Union that were bank robbers and kind of gangsters, and probably the most famous of these is Stalin. He was a bank robber and a gangster in Tbilisi, by all accounts. So yeah, seems to be a common theme. But yeah, I'm just sitting down enjoying the splendour of this beautiful Soviet park. Look at this old fun fairground. It's all kind of overgrown and stuff. Look at this control studio. It's broken glass here. This is where they control this roller coaster here, and I think there's a train in over there somewhere. Yeah, there is, just in over there. Just a train. What else? Let's have a look. It's all abandoned, but there is a one that's more in working order on this side. Look here. There's like these buttercups that you sit in. It's abandoned as well. Looks like it's completely quiet. Привет. You have another abandoned bit of the theme park here. it's just like, this is just something that goes round and round in a circle, I think. So this is kind of the thing that they do where they spin it really fast, and I think you stay up against the edge and you're just pinned back against it. I mean, I would not like to go on that whatsoever. That looks to me like a death machine. But anyways, they all look like death machines. Look at the cut of it, it's like rusty. I hope they don't power that up at any point, or at any point of the year, because that, in my opinion, would be a recipe for disaster. Look at this like small little merry-go-round thing over here. It's tiny. Let's have a look at it quickly. Then we got a mosey on. I didn't give myself that much time to walk around. I gave myself like 4 hours, and that's not taking in any breaks or things that catch my eye like this place has, that I hadn't intended on actually going to look at. But look at the size of this Ferris wheel. It's tiny. You can see where I came from. That's the statue I was just looking at. Look at this. It's tiny. It's so small. What the fuck? Anyway, this is a former Soviet playground here in Moldova. Now, let's move on, I suppose, because time is of the essence. So, I'm walking to somewhere that I kind of had picked out before I arrived that I wanted to see. And one thing about Transnistria or Transnistria is that there's this big conglomerate called Sheriff, and it's a big kind of holding company that runs almost, it's believed, 60 to 80% of the actual economy in the region. It was set up just after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1992, and it was by 2 former KGB members. Now, they're believed to hold seats in government, and so it just goes to show you that a lot of the economic power is also tied up with the political interest in the region as well. So as we walk around the town, you'll see loads of the supermarkets and things like that. They're all called after this kind of big holding company, Sheriff. Just checking my map, see if I've veered off. And not only that, you'll see if you like football, you might remember back in, like, I think it was 2020 or 2021, there was a Moldovan team that they play under the Moldovan flag, called Sheriff FC, and they're located here in Tiraspol. And because FIFA and UEFA don't recognise Transnistria as a country or a region, they play under the Moldovan flag in European competitions as well. And it's a strange phenomenon to have a team like that that's owned by oligarchs, essentially, just playing in the Champions League in the top tier of European football. And they actually beat Real Madrid, if my mind serves me correct. I think they might have beat Real Madrid in the group stages as well, which is quite interesting. But for now, anyway, we move on. The man is telling us to go. Every single block of apartments has something for kids to play on outside of them, and that just goes to show you that they're Soviet buildings, but they really did. I suppose that's why people look back fondly, because there was a lot of amenities put out for kids, and the conditions were probably quite good. I mean, obviously, if there was a lot of things that were negative for the Soviets, but a lot of the older generation look back fondly because they had their bills covered. They knew their kids would be educated. There was always jobs there. Very rarely was there a lot of people unemployed. So they look back fondly with it. And of course, they were under the umbrella of a big, massive union of, I don't know how many countries. Now it must be over, but probably about 10 or 15 at least. So you're a big unit, and you've got the protection of Russia. You've oil and gas security. You've lots of positives. And for the kids, there's amenities outside of their own, every house, every apartment block. So yeah, you can see why people look back on it romantically when you speak to kind of the older generation around these parts. Harry Potter Monument in the middle of Tiraspol. I'm not sure why it's here. So Transnistria itself, the region, it's about 200 kilometers long, but it's only about 15 to 20 kilometers wide, and it's bang smack in the middle of Moldova towards the Ukrainian border, and it's bordered on its east by the Dnistrian river, and that kind of cuts it off from Ukraine then. But yeah, I think I'm on the main street here, which is where I wanted to be. Oh look, there is Mr. Yuri Gagarin. Let's have a look at him when we cross the street. I'm never really sure how to negotiate these things because there's not too much, there's not a whole lot of kind of clues on how to do it, but look, we'll carry on anyway because there's no lights, there's no road lights, but I'm going to go down and look at Yuri Gagarin, of course. So let's have a look. To me is Mr. Gagarin, who was the first man to orbit Earth in 1961 on board the Vostok. Very cool. He's obviously a big hero here. Hello. And CCCP, yeah, Soviet Union. So yeah, he's a big hero here, and obviously a big hero, a big win for the Soviet Union back in the day. But a very cool mural of him here, and I'm going to keep moving. But again, look out the back of the apartments, more playgrounds and basketballs and basketball hoops and things. So yeah, sport is a big thing here. So as I'm walking down the street here, I was just kind of thinking that obviously we're on the Ukrainian border here, but this exact position where we are in Moldova is only 70 or 80 kilometers from probably one of the most volatile regions in all of Ukraine, which is the port of Odessa, which is one of the key strategic points that Russia is trying to take control of. And actually just outside here you can see the Transnistria flag and the Russian flag outside of this building here, this Soviet looking style building. So yes, whatever Russia feels is correct is what Transnistria feels is correct. They're very tied. Well, Transnistria is tied to Russia, it's but it's not exactly felt the other way around. But yeah, very impressive building, and such a strange region, an important region of the world as well, to be honest. But yeah, we're only 70 kilometers here from probably the most recent war in mainland Europe. Yeah, kind of strange to think about. But I think we're fairly well insulated here. But it must be an important place strategically as well. I mean, Moldovans are afraid that if Russians get past Ukraine, are they next? So it's not exactly a foregone conclusion that Moldova is a safe country, because it's not part of the EU either. Might be in time, but not yet. I'm outside the House of Soviets, or nowadays known as Tiraspol City Hall, and outside you can see the Mr. Vladimir Lenin statue, which is not something you see every day. And it's got the clock up here with the time, and obviously the red star of the Soviet Union up here. In the front you can see the pillars here have the Transnistrian flag on them, or well, what's supposed to represent the Transnistrian colours of red, green, red. It's a very cool building, and it's a striking piece of architecture that is definitely one of the more emblematic buildings in this city, and it's very cool. And you see the Transnistrian flag here as well. Very nice. extremely cool building, and of course fronted up here by Mr. Vladimir Lenin, who was the founder of the Soviet Union, and very cool. He's on here on top of this kind of brown granite or red granite, I think what it looks like. There he is. Don't see too many statues of him anymore around the place. Very interesting. This is kind of one of the buildings that I wanted to see the most. I think it's very striking. It's the one that shows up in all the Google searches as well, which is cool. So there you have it. That's the Soviets. Right. Time to move on, but there you have it. Welcome to the Soviet cinema here in Tiraspol. This is Tiraspol local cinema. I love the font or the style of writing here. You can see that they actually have some kids movie on. I'm not sure if that's one that's kind of known across the world or what, or if these are kind of just, are they just kind of Russian movies, or are they worldwide movies? Alien vs Predator, that's definitely worldwide. So these are, some of these are actually Western movies. Yeah, that one is as well. Five Nights or Freddy's, whatever that show is called. Yeah. So actually it's not like they're kind of just cut off from reality here in Tiraspol Lake. There's obviously Western movies are played here in the cinema. So there you have it, a nice Soviet style cinema. It'd be cool to see something inside, but looks like it's closed at the moment. Yeah, it's all lights are off inside it. And I'm kind of in the open area of the town now. Like there just seems to be like a lot of parks and things like that. But yeah. Oh, I passed that place on the bus in actually. It's like a green market. You can see it in the background there, but it was just a really green market that went on for ages. You can see in the background then as well the Russian Orthodox Church over here. So religion is still important to them here. You can see that with the church over there. Again, it looks like some sort of administrative building here. Not exactly sure what the building's function is, but it definitely has some sort of administrative function. Let's see. Look, this is the Transnistria or Transnistrian flag. No idea what any of that stuff says, but there you have it. A few more things to see, and then we'll be wrapping up our time here in Transnistria. Yeah, very interesting. Let's have a walk down here in the park. Привет. So the men back there, they're putting up their Christmas lights for Christmas, obviously, on the big tree. Here we see flags, Transnistria flag, Russian flag. Hello. Here you have again the Tiraspol or the Transnistria or the flag of the region, the Transnistrian flag behind us, backed by the Russian flag, and there you go. and I just was talking to two young girls over there. They're walking up there. They were shouting at me when I was videoing, and I just asked them how life is here in Tiraspol, and their answer was, I said, is it good? And they said yes, and then they stopped for a second and they said, actually so, which I presume means okay. It's nothing more than okay. But yeah, I didn't want to video them to make them feel uncomfortable. I also didn't know what age they were, so I don't think it's my place to be putting them on video. But there you have it. Actually, I can just see. So you can see over here there's 3 flags, which this is interesting. I didn't realise that. So up here you can see the Abkhazian flag, the Transnistria flag, and the South Ossetia flag. Now these are all, I suppose, depending on how politically sensitive you are, breakaway regions, de facto regions, or de facto countries within their region. So on the left you have the Abkhazian flag, and that is in Georgia, and I actually visited the border there. You can't even get into that region. South Ossetia as well, that's also in Georgia, and they're both kind of, I suppose, Russian backed, or they're more closely aligned with Russia than their parent country. And then you have in the middle, they have the Transnistria flag. And I think these 3 countries, they have some sort of kind of a union between them in kind of a bid to get recognition from the wider world. There's, I believe, South Ossetia and Abkhazia are actually recognised by like 3 or 4 different countries in the world. Transnistria isn't. Transnistria is, I believe it's not even recognised by Russia, whereas the other 2 are, and they're recognised by some other countries as well. But yeah, like the geopolitics in this region are just on another level, and because of the links to the Soviet Union, which all 3 of these have, being that the other 2, South Ossetia and Abkhazia, were in Georgia. Yeah, it's so interesting to see. I was not expecting to see them 3 flags, and actually I walked in this way and I never even noticed them. So yeah, that was a nice spot. There you go. An interesting place. Very, very interesting place. I'm going to go up here because I can see the T-34 tanks, which were used in World War II. So I'm just going to go up here and have a look. There's like a monument up here, and I'm going to see if I can get across to them. So over there you can see probably the biggest statue I've ever seen of the founder of the Soviet Union, Vladimir Lenin. Look, he's in front of the building over there, and there's actually military men over there to my left, so I don't want a video over there because they're very paranoid in these countries about that sort of thing. But you can also see on the door of the building itself there's the hammer and sickle, but I've never seen a statue of Lenin that is so big and imposing. And normally they're like hidden away in some small public parks or something like that, but here it's out in the open. Obviously quite proud of him here, and yeah, I didn't think I was going to come across that. I'd looked up things that I was going to see here and that I wanted to see here, but I didn't know that, I don't know, no one, or at least the pictures I saw in the places that I'd kind of put into my schedule that I wanted to see, he was not on it, and it's just kind of fascinating to see that like he's so worshipped here. And look, I suppose everyone to their own, but he goes against a lot of the Western values. But look, people here, they seem to really like his way of life, but I'm not so sure them young girls in the park would stay the same, and I'm not so sure that they're incredibly pleased with their way of life here. But yeah, there you have it, Vladimir Lenin out in the absolute open here. And actually just behind me here is some more Soviet statues here of some generals that probably took part in the 1992 independence war, or maybe it was the Transnistrian and Moldovan kind of fight for independence war. Yeah, 1992, and there's a lady here with her fingers pointing on either side of her. Is just 2 kind of soldiers. So this one is for World War II, because 1941 to 1945, and this is probably harking back to, again, same as the war memorial in Chisinau, the Soviets reclaiming Bessarabia from the Nazis. Bessarabia, obviously, it's the former name in those days for Moldova. But yeah, so you can see here that there's the red star above this man's head, and they look back on that time with fond memories, because you can see that they're still very well celebrated today, these victories by the Soviet Union, and that one in particular, 1941 to 1945, was a big one. There you have it. There's actually an eternal flame just down there, which it's not guarded by anyone, which is quite different to some other countries I've been to. There's normally people guarding it. There's normally like 2 soldiers either side. Actually in Chisinau there was none on either side of that eternal flame either, but in Tbilisi there was. Did I see one in Yerevan? I saw one in Yerevan, but there was none there, I don't think. So this looks like it's actually talking about what happened, or the direction of forces or something like that. I don't know what it's saying. I wish I could read Russian. That looks very like the Opera House in Yerevan. I don't know where it's talking about, but it looks very like the Opera House in Yerevan. But then I suppose all of the buildings in these countries look like that. And you can see a rose here on top of the flag laid down with the soldier's helmet on top. So a nice little kind of acknowledgement of the sacrifice made in all the wars that have kind of gripped this region. Just down here you can see the Dniester River. Or is it Dnieper or Dniester? One or the other. But anyway, yes, this is the one that splits Tiraspol from Ukraine, I believe. Now I don't think that on the other side of that it's Ukraine. I just think that it's one of these kind of demarcations of the region itself, that you're kind of heading into closer to the Ukrainian border once you pass that. Yeah, fascinating place. Look at this what is this type of tank? Someone tell me, because I'm not a military type of guy. I don't know much about it. There it is, in all of its glory. And it has the red star of the Soviet Union again. Looking fantastic. I just had to get a coffee and something to pick me up there. I was starting to lose energy, so I had 2 cinnamon buns, and I have probably a bit of a sugar rush now. Wanted to get some pictures of some of the signs down there as well, because one thing I've noticed, because since I've started doing this, is I always forget to take pictures with my actual phone then, and I only have videos. So yeah. The other thing I did was I had to pick up Transnistrian money. So inside in the coffee shop I couldn't pay with the Moldovan currency, so I had to go to the exchange office and change it for this. So like I mentioned, that Transnistria or Transnistria, whichever you want to call it, has its own currency. And some shops accept the Moldovan currency, the USD, Euro, but this is their own currency, and there is paper, or there is kind of like plastic coins as well. I haven't got my hands on them, but I'm sure I'll survive. So I'm nearly ready to head back to as you can see, the light is going down. I'll be getting my bus back to Chisinau fairly soon, and just kind of have to double check on some of my things that I have, my my migration slip and things like that, because I won't be left out of this place. Well, I probably will if I lost it, but better to just do what's required. Anyway, lights begin to go down and I'm outside the green market. Everything's kind of getting quiet now around here. Probably the time of year you'd imagine in the summertime this will be probably still a bit busier, but there you have it. So as you can see, the green market is next to me, but unfortunately I had planned on going inside and looking like there's flower markets and fruit and veg markets and stuff like that inside. They're supposed to be impressive. However, I mistimed it. My coffee and my sweet treat ran overboard, and unfortunately I missed it. I asked the guy could I go in, but he said it's closed. I could still see the stalls up, but sure, look, this is kind of the nature of travelling on a short time scale. You kind of miss out on things. I mean, I've actually been quite impressed with Tiraspol. It's in ways it's kind of nicer than Chisinau in some ways, but there's a lovely church. But yeah, look, I'm only here for 2 or 3 days, so I need to squeeze as much as I can in. And I also need to stop every now and then to get some food, otherwise I'm gonna fucking faint. And I have a fairly big appetite, so not stopping is kind of out of the question for me. But look, I only have 3 days off work the way my shift falls, so I can't just be everywhere at once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at some other place that I've seen online and maybe just get a picture outside it, because I'm not going to go in. And yeah, but that was unfortunate that I didn't get in there. But we move on. It's getting even darker here. So, as I make my way back to the bus stop, I just want to talk a bit about Transnistria and Russian relations. So obviously you would think that they're all frosty that they're all cozy, but that's not entirely the case. Apparently the gas supply was turned off by the Russians here to Transnistria at the start of 2025. Now Gazprom, the state-owned Russian oil and gas company, said that it was due to a massive debt which was owed by the Moldovans. Now the Moldovan state, that they are continually charged for Transnistria, even though Transnistria operate independently. So, however, still doesn't change the fact that the oil and gas supply was cut off here at the start of 2025, and it led to quite a crisis at the time, with people trying to come up with ways to power most of Moldova, because whilst Transnistria isn't the main hub of the region, it still had the major power plant which was used to power most of Moldova. So obviously it led to geopolitical tensions and economic tensions once again between Russia, Europe, and call into question again the whole idea of Moldova and Transnistria. Are they independent of one another, or are they believed to be a singular element? It would appear that the Russians in this case considered them a singular element. But yeah, that's open to interpretation. Now I'm heading back to the bus, and my bus is leaving in about 10 or 15 minutes, so yeah, fruitful trip here I think. Interesting place. Lots to mull over. Interesting geopolitically, economically, and obviously it's a very old-fashioned place. It's kept its Soviet history and Soviet feel and brutal architecture type. The font is very Soviet, and of course they all speak Russian here. But yeah, now, like I said, a lot of the younger people, or well, at least the ones that I bumped into, were not of the same opinion. So anyways, that's it. Make sure to tune in and like the channel and subscribe. It would mean a lot. Thank you.